Yeah.
She's doing
Yeah.
gymnastics
Wait a minute.
in the car.
Who taught you gymnastics, fungal kid?
Yeah.
Is that like you have like a
She
little?
was a clicker, right? Was she a little
She
clicker?
was a clicker. She was a little clicker.
Yeah.
She
Yeah,
had
is a
that
clicker.
little
Like a
clicker-ish,
clicker-ish,
that
yeah.
little clicker.
Little Click, I
Little
think, was a
Click.
street name,
Little
I believe.
Clicky.
Little Click.
Oh yeah, that was
Yeah.
so
Little
scary.
Clicky. Hello and welcome to the Movie Podcast After Show for The Last of Us Episode 5. Wow, guys, we're here. What a sad ending to this episode. So we want to definitely jump right into it. We want to get all of our tears. I think we've dried most of our tears. Anthony, yours still seem kind of wet still, I believe.
Yeah, man. I that ending just made me. I don't know. It just hits you. It's such a hard thing to watch.
Absolutely.
But yeah, we're gonna talk about it. It's crazy. What a crazy ending.
Yeah, no, for sure. We're going to get all into that, of course. My name is Shahbaz, and I am one of your hosts. Joining alongside me are my infected brothers, Daniel and Anthony. Anthony, we heard from you. Daniel, how are you doing today?
I'm doing okay. You know, I'm still a little misty-eyed for sure.
Yeah.
But that's the thing with this game, right? You know, every single week this show just wants to leave us an absolute heartbreak. You know, we got a little bit of a break from it in episode 4 where it's just like, hey, you know what? We just had a devastating episode 3. You know, we're going to take a little bit of a breather with episode 4 and kind of develop Ellie and Joel's relationship. And then guess what? Let's just throw the arrows to the heart on fire and then continue on from here. So,
And it doesn't help that we've played the game, so we know what's coming, but there's still a bit of us going like, maybe they're going to change it up. Maybe this time something else will happen. And I think we're constantly wrong about that. They still are going for those emotional beats.
they don't want us to have any type of peace or any type of comfort because that's what the show is, right? It's The Last of Us. This is like you either survive or you're dead.
Yeah, you either endure or you survive, and we will be getting to that very, very soon. Of course, this is the Movie Podcast where we drop a new episode every single Monday, and throughout the week, we do have interviews and reviews that do drop as well. You can find us on YouTube. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you can leave us 5 stars, we would truly appreciate that. And you can leave a comment as well, wherever you're watching or listening to us. And let us know, what have you been thinking about the show so far? We're 5 episodes in. Are you still sticking through to it? You know, we've got 4 more episodes to go, and there's still a lot of story to tell. If you've been a fan of the game, you clearly know what else is coming up. If you're watching us on YouTube, hi, hello, look at us. We're very, very friendly. A special guest joining us today, of course, is my dog behind me here. He wouldn't leave me alone, so I do apologize about that. He's not infected, at least I don't think he is, but he has been watching the show. You know, he has been watching the show with me, and he was also crying at the end. I don't know how, but he was like, "How?" I'm like,
Oh, no.
okay. I'm like, it's okay, man. It's okay. I didn't know you understood what was happening. I'm so sorry.
Damn,
I shouldn't have shown it
yeah,
to you.
he also prefers watching with subtitles. He needs the subtitles because he can also read.
Yeah, he needs. It just says bark, 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 bark at the bottom. He's like, "Oh, what's happening?"
You've clearly offended him. You clearly offended him.
He's like, "I'm leaving." I know.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm done with your bullshit." Let's definitely jump into this. Sorry, Daniel. Maybe let's jump into some announcements first. I think you might have some stuff to say.
Yeah, we got a little bit of stuff to say. You know, we have some incredible episodes out right now. You know, it's a little bit different because we're doing this on a Friday instead of a Sunday night. So we have a lot of incredible episodes that have released this week, including, you know, our review of You, Season 4, Part 1, which you could check out. You could also check out our breakdown of Episode 4 of The Last of Us, which just came out on Sunday. We have a lot of stuff coming. You know, Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania is upon us. So you want to make sure you check out all of our coverage for that next week, including our coverage of the press conference, our interview with Catherine Newton, of course, and our review of the film. So there's lots of amazing things happening, and we're doing some incredible giveaways. Right now, you can win tickets to Cocaine Bear in Toronto if you want to check out an early screening of that. We just wrapped up our advanced giveaway screening of Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania as well, which was for the Canadian premiere. So it pays if you're a fan of the movie podcast and you're in the Ontario, Toronto area, because you may be able to go to some really cool movie premieres. If we get the opportunity, 100% we will send you. So make sure you tune in for all of that and more, and lots more coming. You know, we're heading into February. I'm wearing my Mario Brothers hat again because again, I'm so excited for the Mario Brothers movie. I just want that to come out, and hopefully we'll get some news on more of that trailer information very very soon. But that's all I really got. And of course, this episode, as all of our episodes this month, are brought to you in part by Manscaped. Check out our show notes below. Like Shay said, get 20% off and free shipping using promo code MoviePod. So definitely do that. We're all looking our best right now. Dyno, I think, is going to start using it as well too because he wants to clean up his beard. But we have lots of great opportunities, and we're so lucky to be working with Manscaped on that. So definitely check them out. Use our promo code and support our show. Also, don't use any products on your dogs. Don't use Manscaped products on your
Yeah,
dogs.
I think
Disclaimer.
they specifically said don't use it on your dog.
Yeah.
It's Manscaped, not Dogscaped.
Manscaped.
Too late.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Too late.
Oh
Too
no!
Oh no! That's why Anthony's dog's not in the background. He's just cowering in fear in the corner. But let's jump into this episode. So I mean, obviously, we left off the last episode. It wasn't as heartbreaking, but we did get a little bit of a tease to something underground, something kind of brewing, and then it had that perfect cut to black of these new characters that we think we know who they are because they've been talking about them all episode. But is it actually them? Lo and behold, it is Sam and Henry. But before we kind of get to that, we get a bit more of what Kansas is like, what's happening there. We have a huge parade of people. They're screaming "Fuck you, Fedra!" Clearly, Fedra has been taken down. This liberation, this resistance has taken everybody down, and there's bodies lying on the ground. People are being murdered, and things are being looted. And then you see Sam and Henry, these new characters that we haven't seen really before until the last episode of episode 4. They're kind of running around and they're clearly in hiding. And we learn that Sam is deaf, and that's something that's very very different from the game. In the game he was speaking, he was able to communicate with Henry, but in this game obviously he is using a sketch pad of sorts hanging around his neck that almost that when you reveal the paper it kind of gets rid of it. So I think introducing that hearing disability to Sam, I think was a great place to begin with this. And Dane, I want to kick it over to you. How was this opening sequence for you? Because I really enjoyed it personally. I thought this was such a cool way to start the episode. Picking it up obviously right where it left off can also be interesting, but to give us a bit more of a background as to what's happening in Kansas City and what's happening with these characters, why they're being hunted, is always very unique also.
It is. It's very unique, and I also like, again, this is another way that the HBO series is changing and adapting itself, and also expanding upon the world of the game. You know, 10 years ago, when we look at the landscape of where things were, um, we were getting there with inclusivity, with diversity when it comes to showing different people and what they're living with. And I like that we could just go from now, let's 10 years from now, how can we update these characters to maybe better reflect maybe how they're surviving. And I immediately kind of was thinking about how A Quiet Place was doing that as well too, with the family using sign language. And we're seeing that as well here too, and I think it's a really cool thing that he has like the little magnet pad that will, as soon as you lift it up, because I remember playing with those growing up all the time, where you just draw stuff, flip it up, put it down, draw a bunch of dicks, flip it up, put it down, and it's gone. You know what I mean? But like it's just fun. It's just a really unique way, I think, of expanding on Sam's character and really showing why Sam and Henry have been connected together. It's because Henry really feels that dutyship of, I need to take care of this person. I am responsible for this person because they cannot be responsible for themselves. And when we're kind of learning about their background, which we'll get to later on in this episode, but what I really love so much about this is that, we're getting, as we keep saying, an expansion on what we know. And I think we're getting something that better reflects, the times that we're in. Let us show more diverse characters. Let us show different characters on screen and what they are dealing with. And I just really love that. I really love Sam and Henry. And I love them in the game. That is one of the sequences in the games that um, is always so heavy to go through. There's a lot, obviously, but that is always a sequence in the games that whenever I replaying The Last of Us, I'm like, oh man, like it's hard going through this because you know what's coming, especially after you've experienced it. I just want to say, the two of them, the two actors who play Sam and Henry, Lamar Johnson and the actor who plays Sam, I am blanking on his name right now.
It is Kayvon Woodard.
Yeah, they are both phenomenal. I think they're both fantastically cast in this series, and that's, I think, just a testament to the show itself, where it's like everything. I think every single character and faction in the show is deserving of their own spin-off, and you could have easily had 2, 3, 4, 5 episodes just with Sam and Henry and really developing their relationship. Where I wish we did get a little bit more time with them because they are great. But again, this is not their story. This is Joel and Ellie's story, and especially Ellie's story that we're going through. But man, what a ride this episode was, especially this introduction to them.
Absolutely. And they have a very, very formidable foe that they're kind of up against that we were introduced to in the last episode, which is Kathleen, played by, the wonderful Melanie Linsky. She's so unique in the sense that I want to hate her because of how absolutely awful she is. You in this episode, she's talking to these people that are jailed up. They're clearly Fedra informants or collaborators. They were giving up people to get basic supplies sometimes, or even medicine, things like that they needed to survive. And Fedra obviously had everything on them and said, "Hey, you tell us where this person is, we'll give you the cure that you need, or the medicine that you need, or the food that you need." Which is really, it's shitty, but it is the way the world works, unfortunately. And the way she talks to them, there's like almost this level of empathy that when she's talking to them, she's like, yeah, like, you did this. It kind of reminds me sometimes a little bit of, if you're familiar with Harry Potter, like Dolores Umbridge.
Yes.
There's that level of like, she's so polite in the way that she's speaking, but you don't trust her, or and she's clearly gonna stab you in the back. And she's asking, like, where's Sam and Henry? Where's Henry? I need to find Henry. Where is he? And we don't know why yet that's the case here. So we're kind of building up, and we're building up, and then we kind of cut back to Sam and Henry, and we see that they find this building, they go hide in it, and then the doctor from the last episode is there, and he's like, hey, like, I find the spot, like, we can hang out here for a bit. Whatever food you have, eat that for now. Obviously, I'm gonna go look for more food. Sam, worried, he's trying to figure out what's happening here. Henry is trying to help him out as well. And he's like, just I'll give you some crayons, go paint the walls, go to town, do whatever you need to do. And I find there's a really funny line that he kind of says. He looks out and he sees all the guards kind of walking around, and Henry's like, don't worry, I know their patterns, I know how they're working. That's such a video game kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, what's interesting about it is that, like in Naughty Dog games, the AI for any like enemy is so good usually. Like, they either don't have a pattern, or their pattern is so obscure and hard to figure out. So I thought that was a really, really fun moment. But Anthony, what did you think about this whole opening sequence up until now, where we're at?
Well, you needed context to why Henry and Sam are on the run. And with the introduction of these new characters, Kathleen and Perry, and the whole like idea of this revolt, you needed some sort of context of, well, where does Henry stand, and how did he get into a certain position or a certain state with his brother? And this all kind of happens within 15-20 minutes, and you really feel like, okay, I understand what's happening here. I understand that Kathleen's looking for Henry and Sam, specifically Henry, because he did something to her or to her family that needs to be taken care of. Like, there's a huge issue here. And Kathleen's character is unique because she is the leader of this resistance, but she's also becomes this like dictator and judge and jury for this city. And I don't know if, and learning what her brother was and what her brother did, and we'll kind of go into it. I don't know where her character comes from, and I think it comes from a level of revenge, and that's how I see it. It's just revenge on her part, just blind revenge. It's it says a lot about what Henry had to do, and I think we learn why Henry does what he does for Sam, because there's a life and death situation where he had to become a collaborator, a rat essentially, so he can save his brother.
It's survival, right?
It's
It's
survival.
survival. That's exactly it on both ends.
Yeah, and when you hear Joel learn about him being a collaborator and being a rat, you can see it in his face, like, I do not want to work with you. I know your type. You guys, I should be killing you right now, essentially. But then later on, and we'll talk about it, why he does it and what gets him there is really, really important. Really sets ground to, a brother's love. And that's what this particular episode is all about, like a brother's love and what you have to do, and what you have how do you take care of this person that's, super small and innocent, and he needs reassurance, and he has a weakness, which is he can't hear, so he doesn't know his surroundings. He has to rely on his brother, and if his brother's not there, how does he survive? So there's a lot of challenges that are put into this episode. But yeah, I really like the idea of why the revolt happened, who Kathleen and Perry are, essentially Sam and Henry being, these two that are on the run and trying to get out, and then connecting with Joel and Ellie and how they form this bond.
No, absolutely. And then we right from there we kind of do go into the events that happen in episode 4. You know, you see Henry and Sam, they're about to leave, they're about to get out, and then all of a sudden you hear the car crash across the street at the laundromat. Henry sees it all kind of go down, and then where do we go from there? We go to the where it ended at last episode, where the guns are being pointed. Clearly, Henry has no idea what he's doing. He's kind of confused himself. And I love that. I love that there's this level of uncertainty that Henry has, that he himself is like, listen, I'm just trying to survive. I don't know what else I can do other than survive and protect my brother. And Anthony, I love that you bring that up. That this is, yes, an episode of brotherly love, but it's also just, I think, finding love in the most interesting ways, because even Joel and Ellie at this point, they still haven't kind of come to the conclusion of what their relationship is. You know, in the last episode, you're cargo. In this episode, you know, Henry even says like, your dad's really weird, and it's like, he's not my dad. Okay, he's not my
Yeah.
dad. Like, they're like, she's not my daughter. Like, that's not my dad. But yeah, Dane, what are your
You
thoughts?
know, it's funny because, like, it's an example of how perspective changes everything, right? We're at the end of episode 4. We see Henry and Sam standing over Joel and Ellie, and it's very intimidating. It's very scary. And then all of a sudden, we're seeing it from their perspective, and you could tell how scared they all are, or they both are, and they're going through this. So it's a really clever way of just showing how you really don't know what somebody's feeling until you are from their perspective, right? And I think this is what this show is doing so well, where Ellie could come off as like this, fuck the world, whatever. I'm very confident, but in her quieter moments, like we saw in episode 4 at the beginning, where she's just kind of she's still figuring who she is. Joel has those quiet moments too, where he will struggle, and I think when you see Sam and Henry, giving them a lot more of a backstory, a lot more than what we got from them on the game side, you really start to understand who Sam and Henry are, and I think it's a great thing.
Yeah, and I like that you bring that up. I like that you bring up that forced change of perspective, because I didn't even see it like that until I really went back and watched it again. I'm like, yeah, man, like there's such confidence in that, in the ending of episode 4, to the reluctancy of episode 5 that we kind of get into, and I thought that was really funny. You know, they're discussing in this building still, which is, oh, I just found that very interesting that they're in a high rise
Yeah.
building in the middle of a pandemic. It just seems really bizarre. But they, from this point on, they're trying to figure out, hey, how do we get out? Henry and Sam know the ins and outs of the city, but they're not very well versed in combating with the infected. Even when Ellie mentions like, hey, we came across 2 clickers, like, and you survived. Like, this is why I know you're the right
Yep.
people. Like, it's crazy to see that. And then they're kind of going, and in the game, this is a very pivotal moment where they go into the water mains, and they kind of try to escape from there, and some really interesting things happen. I think one of my favorite parts of this episode here is when there's that quiet moment of them kind of being downstairs, and they're in that school kind of area. People that were, I guess, were trying to survive. The survivors down there. You see Sam, pull out his Endure and Survive comic books, which is the Savage Starlight books, I believe. Is that what they're called? Savage Starlight, I believe. I know they're called Starlight, at least the comics. And Ellie does her whole Endure and Survive, and that's from the games, of course. That's the final trophy in the game as
It is
well.
Savage
And
Starlight,
it's a
yes.
very, very Savage
Yep.
Starlight, perfect. Yeah, it's a very, very pivotal moment, because you, in the game, you're collecting those books, and Ellie, finds herself in them. And I thought that was really, really important. Anthony, what are your thoughts on this whole sequence where they're kind of just figuring things out? There's that moment where Sam and Ellie are connecting, and it's a very beautiful moment as
Yeah,
well.
there is that commune, or that area where those kids were living, that
The underground
underground
area.
place, that was actually a really sad moment in the game, because you learn about these were kids that lived here. There was a whole family, and in the game they kind of give you like these little letters that talked about what was happening, and then Joel mentions it in the series, yeah, we've heard a lot of these where people would go underground to survive, but then one person would get infected and then everyone would get infected. And it's pretty tragic to hear that, because you see all these kids murals, you see all like love, you literally see love in a room, and then you know that it didn't end well for them. You know, the conversation between Joel and Henry is where it really kind of connected with me, because you learn that, you know, Sam had leukemia, and the reason why he collaborated with Fedra was because they had the medicine, and that medicine was to cure Sam, and he had to do what he had to do. Like that's the life. And I think as Joel, and we were talking about perspective, now Joel sees Henry's perspective. He sees, oh, there is a reason you weren't doing it for money or for food stamps or for whatever they were giving you. You were actually doing it because, you know, this person needed to survive. And the cost was, I think, from the understanding was, Kathleen's brother was the savior of this, or the main person for this resistance,
He was the leader of
right?
the
And
resistance. Yeah.
I think Henry had a lot of respect for him, and he had to give him up, because the thing that he needed the most was the biggest thing Fedra wanted. And you know, there was this issue with what he did and how he did it. With, I think Kathleen doesn't know, and of course nobody knows why he did it, other than Joel. But there is this main reasoning that a lot of people don't see, and he's not going to let everyone, there's not like this megaphone you could tell the whole world or the whole city that, yeah, I'm doing this. But you'll also learn, I guess Kathleen did know, because she mentions it at the end, that, you know, we all have to die. And that's her fucked up thinking. Like, no, man, this is my brother. Your brother had to die. It's just so.
But you also
it's so funny.
See how she's also not somebody from this world, right? And like you said, Shay, I think you made a great like Umbridge comparison, where just like she feels very much like this Karen, you know, even though she's a Kathleen. She like has like this vibe to her, where just like
is that the new Karen now?
Kathleen, where she's gonna like, can I talk to the manager of this clicker, please? Who's the manager of this Fed right here? I want to talk to them. But like it's you see that she's just kind of out of her realm with this, and she's not very stable. I mean, who could be stable in a world like this? But like you tell that she's really picking up that mantle of something that she probably didn't want, but she has to be strong now, because this is the world that she lives in. You either endure and survive, or you die.
Yeah, and in exactly your point there, Daniel, there's even a moment where her and Perry are kind of in their childhood bedrooms, and nothing. She has no emotion. She doesn't give a shit. She's like, yeah, I don't care. Like, where's Henry? Like, find Henry. Don't talk to me.
Also, shout out to Perry,
so, very
who
sweet.
obviously played by Jeffrey Pierce, who plays Tommy in the video games. He's so good, man. I feel like he just dresses like that every single day of his life. You know, he's just ready to go.
I wish they gave him more
great beard
substance. I feel like he's just too quiet, and there's a lot of messaging that goes across from Kathleen where it cuts to Perry, and I'm like, I don't know if he trusts everything she's saying or believes. He
seems
conflicted. And he does say it in that room, and when they have that conversation, we're with you 100% of the way. But I just don't understand why, you know, if you were following her brother, who was like the saint and probably didn't want any of this to happen, like, why follow this person to the extremes? Like, even at the beginning where she's like, yeah, they're not getting a jury, there's no judge, just kill them all. And then he just does it. I'm like, what makes you better than these other people that were in power before? It's You're like dictatorship on top of dictatorship.
Support for the Movie Podcast is brought to you by Manscaped, who is the best in men's below-the-waist grooming. Their products are precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. Manscaped's Performance Package, the ultimate men's hygiene bundle. Join over 7 million men worldwide who have trusted Manscaped with this exclusive offer for you. 20% off and free worldwide shipping with the code MoviePod at manscaped.com. If my math is correct, that's about 14 million balls.
You know what I didn't know I needed, but I needed, is an LED light on my shaver.
Oh my God.
Like, oh my gosh.
Yes.
There is darkness, especially around that area. It works so well. You can really pinpoint all the hairs, and you're like, okay, I got this point, because hair kind of like starts to mesh, and you really don't see it properly. But with this LED light, it's super bright, and you can get everything precision cut.
It's a 4000K LED spotlight, so you are literally putting a spotlight to your genitals down there to make sure you're treating them as you should.
The skin safe proprietary technology that they use for the lawnmower is really good. Like I was always a little hesitant going down there, and then I felt safe. I felt like there was protection there.
Manscaped just makes it so easy to choose a tool, whatever you're using, be it the beard trimmer, the lawnmower, the weed whacker, and it just feels like there is like this accessibility to it that I absolutely love.
Get 20% off and free shipping with the code MoviePod at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com and use code MoviePod. Unlock your confidence and always use the right tools for the job at Manscaped.
Your balls will thank you.
Your balls will thank you.
Your balls will thank you. It's like a level of conflictedness that you see through his character, and you're right, Anthony. I do wish we got a little bit more of Perry, and I feel like maybe some of the stuff did end up on the cutting room floor to keep the pace of the episode going, because there's a lot there where I'm like, Perry, you don't want to be doing this, man. Come on, like, what is going on? You seem like you have a bit of a head on your shoulders here. Why are you following? I guess maybe it's fear. Maybe it's like, if I don't do it, someone's gonna do it to
Exactly.
me. So let's keep that moving then, I guess. And yeah, there's that sweet moment of finding out that why Henry did what he had to do. And Joel even says, like, you know what, if it was me, I'd have done the same thing. I'd been right there with you. We then kind of come out of this tunnel, and we're walking through this town, and this is one of my favorite moments in the game, where we get this sniper shootout moment. And in this moment, it's now taking place during the nighttime. There's a sniper in a house just down the street, facing right towards the end of the street, going after these guys. Of course, those sniper sounds are attracting a lot of people. That sniper working for Kathleen as well, signaling, hey, I think they're over here. And yeah, the sniper's name is Anthony. So Anthony, how is it like? How is it like for you to be out there shooting these people? You
I didn't
sick
shoot anyone,
guy.
okay? I was purposely missing, and you know what? I died at the end. I'd rather, you know what? I died a good death. I died from Joel. Was
I mean,
not not
you died from
infected.
Joel.
I lived. I looked like I was like at least 70, or 65.
No, I think that's just 40. That's 43 in the Last of Us world.
But yeah, man, I think I did, everyone justice by holding the ground for a bit.
You did. I guess. I mean, yeah, you're Kathleen's number one employee. But this is where one of the moment that we were kind of waiting for, the big, I guess, infected horde to show up. This was that moment. We kept hearing about it, that rumbling that was happening under the ground. This is it. Kathleen shows up with her tanks and her giant cars. They crash through, and all of a sudden, this house just kind of pummels into the ground and outpour like hundreds of.
This is the money
infected.
shot.
And on
This is the
top
money
of
shot
that,
for sure.
This is where
Yeah.
all the money went. You're absolutely right. And here we go. We get the big bad bloater finally. In the game, we get it in a bit of a different moment. We get it in Billstown. But here we are with the bloater, massive, gigantic, big brute force clicker like infected, who is barreling towards Kathleen and Perry. And I just really want to quickly say, this is one of my favorite moments because it's awful. But the way the bloater rips off Perry's head is just like how it happens in the game. Grabs you and just rips it right off.
No
just
restarting
like in
from
the game.
checkpoint
In
there.
the game, a lot
No
more
restarting
verse.
from he's
No,
that's so lights
no.
out on Perry there.
No tips on how to
No,
survive next time. It's
this
just
is grounded
you're
mode.
dead.
This is grounded. there's no restarting here. He is just
Permadeath.
like it was like boop, like it like just like popped
Yeah.
and sprayed. Oh my goodness. Oh my gosh.
There's a lot that happens in this moment, Daniel. So I'd love for you to tell us more about it, because obviously we have a new type of infected. We have, Sam and Henry being attacked, and we have Ellie kind of just on her own using her instincts while Joel is in that sniper tower helping around. So yeah, give us what you thought about this
there's
sequence.
so much happening here, and I think this is really where the show has been building up to this big confrontation. And I love it. And this is, I think, the kind of franticness that we're used to when we're playing the game and we're actually controlling these characters and we're trying to escape and there's a lot going on. because this show has been comprised of a lot of quieter moments. Yes, there's been some big explosions. Yes, there's been some great action that we've seen, but this is really where it's just like, okay, we are letting loose. We are putting as many infected as we can on screen. We are going to really show you why um, you need to be scared of the infected in this world, because it's, The Last of Us has never been about the zombies. It's never been about the infected. But when they do show up and you have a moment like this, it is terrifying. And you see that bloater climbing out of the ground. Terrifying. I don't even know what the bloater dance is. There's no clickers. There's just the bloater dance is just like like
That's
he's just
right
like he's like
there.
coming up like that.
That's
Yeah,
in the
he's just
club
like
kind of
he's just
dance.
coming
Yeah.
up in there. He's just but it's terrifying, and it's so damn scary that I think people who have been vocal about, the show doesn't have a lot of infected or zombies in it, blah blah blah, it's gonna shut those people up this week, because it's like, yeah, let's give you all of them. Let's give you all of them. And the fact that you have like Joel up top, and you have Ellie and Sam and Henry trying to survive on the bottom. Then of course you have Kathleen and her, her crew there. Everything's happening all at once. It's a lot going on, but it's a damn great episode of or sequence from the show so far.
Yeah, and this is the action extravaganza episode.
When we first watched this episode about a couple of months ago, it was still raw, so we really didn't know, the undertaking of this actual shootout. And to see it finalized, it's so much scarier than what we actually witnessed.
Yeah.
It just felt like, holy, these things are fast. There's many of them. No matter how many bullets you have in a gun, like, there's just too many of them. And the bloater being like this big hulking fungal beast who can just rip off your head. Like, the one thing they didn't add was, like, how a bloater can throw like acid fungals at you and it explodes and you
Yeah.
burn and shit. Yes,
Like the
yes. I guess
spores,
don't
yeah.
exist in this type of Last of Us
No,
world.
they don't. So Craig Mazin said there's no spores
Right.
in this world yet. Maybe that's something they could explore in season 2, but as of right now, spores aren't something that they're really going to be worrying about. But it could be something that evolves, right? Over time,
Yeah.
they realize that, we have to
Yeah.
worry about this.
No, I just that whole sequence when the house, explodes and you see the truck just dip into the house and it just craters, and all of a sudden you see all these friggin' infected come out. I wouldn't even know what to do. Like, what do you do? Like, what do you are dead.
don't-
Remember we were talking about, like, if you didn't have arms or legs, you're dead. You
Yeah.
just throw your body at them. Fuck it. It's over. Just get infected or get eaten.
Yeah,
And
just take the
make
L
the
here
L.
at this
One of the
point.
scarier parts is the kid infected who's chasing Ellie, and she's kind of like
Oh my
She's like-
god, it's
That's
so
what I wanted to
scary.
focus
back
on.
with her
It's
her
so
legs.
scary in the car.
Yeah.
She's doing
Yeah.
gymnastics
Wait a minute.
in the car.
Who taught you gymnastics, fungal kid?
Yeah.
Is that like you have like a
She
little?
was a clicker, right? Was she a little
She
clicker?
was a clicker. She was a little clicker.
Yeah.
She
she
had
is a
that
clicker.
little
Like a
clicker.
clicker-ish, yeah.
That little clicker.
Little,
Yeah.
little click, I
Little
think, was a
click.
street name.
Little
I believe.
clicky.
Little click.
But yeah, that was
Yeah.
so
Little
scary.
clicky. But it's
That
very
mother
scary. And then I get why in the game you can't have a kid clicker because they don't want us to be killing kids in the game. But in this show, it made sense why we had it. And the clicker has the little
click.
little click has a great payoff. She has a great payoff. She goes
Yeah.
right after Kathleen, just digs
Nom, nom,
right
nom,
in.
nom, 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 nom,
Goes to town on her. Nom 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 nom. And then we're also seeing, Ellie kind of look over, and Sam and Henry are trapped into the car, and she does exactly what she does in the game, pulls out her switchblade, goes behind these clickers, stabs him in the neck. Great move. Next stab, next stab, next stab. Move on. Let's get up. And then we start going. We end up, now in a bit of a hotel room with Sam, Henry, Joel, and Ellie. They're
Do we have
kind of
to,
hanging
Shay?
out. And
Do we have to?
I know.
It's okay.
I'm so sorry. We
Ugh.
do have to, but we're wrapping up. We're so close. We'll get your tissues ready because here we are. We're kind of discussing the day's events, and Ellie and Sam are having a very sweet moment. And this is where I was a little confused why this sequence played out the way it did. In the next episode, we do find out why it happened the way it did, but I do like that this episode kind of it gives us a lot of questions. Sam does reveal to Ellie that he was bit, and it's a very interesting moment because in the game it's not like that. We don't know that Sam got bit. We just kind of it just happens the next day. So Ellie's like, oh, it's okay, I've been bit, and like my blood, it will heal people, it's the cure. So she kind of just cuts herself a little bit, puts her blood on top of his cut, And there we go.
Sorry, for a second, I just felt like it would work. Like, didn't you
Me
hope
too.
that it would work?
Me too.
Yes. I thought that's a new addition.
Yeah.
Maybe everything will turn out for the better. And then the next morning happens, and it scared the living hell out of me because the way Sam goes right for Ellie, like, he's just kind of twitching and it's like, what's going on? Jumps right through that door and he's going at it. You see Henry freaking out, like, what's going on? What do I do? Joel goes for the gun. Henry kicks it out of the way. And then, Joel, Henry just right there takes
The
a shot
fear
on Sam.
in Henry's face there. This is like, just like, what did I do? What did I just do? Just like, that is one of the best, I think, depictions of somebody being in just utter shock that I've seen in a really long time, where he's just outside of his body, besides himself. I don't even know what I just did. I just killed my brother. But oh my gosh, like, oh my God, what a moment.
Lamar Johnson brings it.
What a
He
moment.
absolutely brings it.
What a
Toronto
moment.
native, of course. And yeah, shocking sequence. You see Sam just kind of lying there. Ellie's kind of in shock as to what just happened. So is Joel. And you see that gun start to point closer and closer towards Henry that he's holding. And he takes his own life right there. And it's such a shocking, just absolutely heartbreaking moment. Anthony, please.
They took the scene from the game where the camera focuses on Ellie, and while the gun goes off, it focuses on her face. And they did it, like, Bella Ramsey did such a great version of that. Like, just the wail in horror as she watches, like, Henry's
Yeah.
body fall to the ground after he's just killed his brother. And, like, she just captures it perfectly. Like, just the eyes and the sadness, and it's just like, and it's just like, boom. And you can't believe everything that's just happened within the past 5 minutes. You just lost two characters who I think a
Yeah.
lot of people were hoping to see more often, because there's this idea of like, oh, we'll join you on your journey,
We'll join
and
you.
then
Yeah. You want it.
not on
You
The
want
Last
it
of
to
Us,
happen.
no one joins you on the journey. It's just
No.
death for everyone, really.
It's just
And
The Last of
it's
Us.
just, they captured it so well. I think they captured it so much better than the game, because they gave you a little bit more context, especially with Ellie cutting her arm, her hand, and trying to be like the Jesus of this world and not working. And yeah, man, I could just see it in Joel's face. Like, I just watched a brother kill his brother and then himself, and like right in front of me, and then he couldn't do anything. You can't do anything, like, well, what can you do? You have no choice but to do like, you have to kill your brother. But then the suicide at the end is the the sadness on the cake is just, man, did not expect it, and a lot of people, I don't think, will expect that.
No, definitely won't. And it's a harrowing moment. It's a moment where really everybody's acting is it's just at the top of their game. This episode really shows what everybody has available to them in their arsenal of acting. They are bringing it all. This episode also is just super heavy in terms of its effects with what they do with the amazing effects, by the way, with all the different infected that kind of come out of that hole. There's so much action in this episode, yet also so much heartbreak. And this episode really, you start to feel the repercussions of it come more and more. Ellie becomes more and more of somebody that, is going to be not trusting, or she's going to be very not as naive in this world going forward. We end up burying Sam and Henry, and Ellie just kind of leaves that sketch pad right there on Sam's grave. And that's it. Like, they just got to move on.
And
They've
her
got a mission to
note
go
on
for.
the pad where she just says, "I'm sorry."
She tried. She tried to save him, right? And it almost kind of instills that doubt in her that, is my blood really? Like, am I really? Is this going to work what I'm trying to do? All this work that we're doing, is it make sense? And I think that's really why we got that moment in that hotel scene, because I kept wondering, I'm like, why are we like, this isn't in the game and this is kind of a weird choice, but to instill that doubt in that character is, oh my God,
Yeah,
it's
it
another
is.
level of heartbreak that this game keeps wanting to
Let's make
do,
The
or the show
Last of
keeps
Us
wanting to do to
sadder.
us.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
It's a really
Oh,
beautiful
okay,
shot
yeah,
of
let's do
Joel
it.
as he's staring at the graves, and like in the background, like out of focus, you see Ellie, and you just see like his face where it's like, I can't believe I had to do this. And it's just sadness. Like no matter where Joel goes, I feel like there's always sadness that follows. And I feel like that sequence or that scene where he's just looking at these two graves and he's looking at the letter um Ellie wrote, where it's I'm sorry. It just breaks your heart. And I think he's breaking his heart because he knows she wants purpose in her life. She wants to help these people. And I think that gives a little bit more purpose to get her to where she needs to go. And this is,
Yeah.
they're back on their adventure. But yeah, that shot of Joel is just Pedro Pascal plays him such brilliantly and beautifully.
Yeah. I was
Just
about
like
to
that.
ask you guys, like I know we don't talk about awards too much on the show, but like Pedro Pascal and Bella Ramsey, like they're coming for those awards.
If they're not cleaning
Yeah,
up, then
shut it all
what's
down.
the point, right?
Start a
No, I'm
virus that
kidding.
course
We
a
don't talk about
virus.
sport.
There's no need.
You know,
Hey, there has
No,
been the thing
no,
happening.
first-
There's that
no,
the
fungal
first
infection
time
going
I watched
around.
this whole series, I said today, I'm like, I don't know if this is award category, like, and I don't know if you agreed or not, but it was just like, I just didn't feel the vibe. Like, I didn't get that vibe. But then watching it finished and polished and really like, this is the final cut, everything looks so different and everything looks so much better. And the performances just stand out. It's a show that you have to rewatch again, truthfully, to
I think
really
I
embrace
think that's exactly it, Anthony. I
everything.
think that's like we're watching it now with without that nervousness of like, oh my god, this is The Last of Us. We're just we're experiencing the show for what it is, and we get to really dive deeper into who these characters are and who this show is. Right? Not this isn't an adaptation of a video game. This is its own thing now.
Yeah, exactly. Like my first watch through the entire series, I was like, I don't know, is this gonna be good? Like, are people gonna like this? Oh man, did I like it? I think it was good. And then when I'm rewatching it, I'm like, oh my god, like this is amazing. This is so damn good. They absolutely nailed it. But yeah, we're going over to episode 6. It's coming out next Sunday. So or unless something changes last minute like they did with this episode. But as of right now, next Sunday, come back here again. Daniel, please, do you have some announcements you wanted to make?
Yeah, so I got some really quickly announcements, something that just kind of developed, and I wanted to get your guys' live reaction to it as well too. If you open up to the homepage of Apple Podcasts, and you go to where you see all the lovely podcasts that are being advertised, if you go through the carousel at the top, you will see a familiar image, and that is us, the movie podcast. And it's not for a specific episode, it's not for a specific interview that we did. It's just, hey, it's our show on the main page of Apple Podcasts,
That's
just saying like, hey,
us.
discussing the latest and greatest in film and TV.
Wow.
It's the movie podcast.
Surprise.
It's us on the main page. Isn't that amazing?
That is super amazing.
Wow. That is a
Right?
great announcement.
I'm
to
so
kick
glad.
into
I
at the
wanted, like,
very end.
I wanted
wow.
your live
These are our
reactions.
live
to it. I need to
reactions.
go back and see exactly where I saw it because I'm like, I was just like, oh, that's us, and that's like that's our show on
Oh
it.
my
So for all of you
God.
listening, like this is because of you. You've made this happen for us. So thank you for
Thank
being
you.
part of this journey with us. And yeah, we are once again on the front page of Apple Podcasts right now. That's pretty amazing.
Wow. That's
Like
I mean, I don't even know how to
just
I
end
don't know
Last
how
of
to
Us.
end
This
this
is it.
episode anymore.
This is the Last
We
of
don't
Us
need it.
of the movie
Yeah.
podcast.
I've always hated the show. No, well, thank you again for that announcement. That's beautiful, and thank you again to everybody else for also listening to us and discovering us to whatever podcast means you have. If you are listening to us on Apple Podcasts, thank you so much. If you can leave us 5 stars, we really would appreciate it. And leave us a comment; we would love reading it out. If you're on Spotify, leave us 5 stars as well. And you can't leave any comments on there, but you can leave comments on YouTube. You can subscribe to us, give us a thumbs up. We have some great videos that Anthony's making out there. If you're following us on TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter as well, please continue to follow us on there because we're having some great contests, some great videos, some great stuff coming out there. The year is just beginning, and I can tell you already it's going to be another banger year for the Movie Podcast. I guarantee you that. You can follow us on our own social media as well, so please go ahead and do that. That was This Time with the Movie Podcast, and we'll see you next.